Hey, y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
And you know what's good, Dylan?
What's that?
You're not the diddler.
Oh, yeah.
You're not the P diddler.
I'm glad I'm not the P diddler.
I'm pretty sure the P diddler's having a really bad week.
Yeah, he's had a pretty rough few days.
50 Cent keeps trolling him. Something else.
There's a lot of people out there making full-on fun of him. But at the end of the day, it's a very serious matter. The charges are very, very serious.
Oh, man, we read through some of the lawsuit allegations recently.
There's a lot.
Wow. Apparently, the diddler can't stop groping people's anus.
Yes. How do you
This is what we wanted to know. This producer, and I can't even... Lil Rod.
Yeah.
Lil Rod is... I was like, I can't think of his name, but then it popped in my head. Lil Rod.
Yeah,
as opposed to Big Rod. Lil Rod, in his lawsuit, it's has explosive allegations, by the way. Like that P. Diddy allegedly shot a dude in the studio.
With his son present.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
But there are so many mentions of the diddler groping this guy's anus. Now, I just need to know how this happened. He has to have some long-ass hands. How do you get up in there to touch an anus?
I just think...
it's kind of tucked. I don't know what your anus is like, Dylan, but mine's kind of tucked up. Like, it would take some effort for somebody to grab my anus.
My anus it's put away. It's put away. It's not just out there in the open.
No, it doesn't, protrude or anything. It doesn't say hello.
It does not look like half of a walnut shell.
I have a busy social schedule. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just don't know that you would have access to directly grope my anus unless I got in a very specific position.
There's a lot of anal groping happening.
I just think he's a very accomplished pincher, and he can just pinch around your anus.
You think he's pinching people's anus?
Yeah, with some really strong pinching fingers.
Gosh, he's like a little crab.
Right on your anus.
Keep those Diddy claws away from my anus.
But I'm just blown away. It's just so abusive. Some of the things that have been described, and
and fucked up.
I feel sad that people have exposed themselves for months or even years on end to this type of behavior.
See, that's the thing I don't understand, because this guy's a producer, and I'm not saying it's his own fault, but Dylan, if you're in a situation where you're being paid to do a job and for some reason it requires you to live with somebody for a year.
Yeah.
One, I'm not going to do that because I like to have my own space, right? Two, you're not just going to grab my anus. I'm not okay with that. And I don't care what's on the line. I don't care if it's an amount of money, if I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job.
Or get blackballed.
Yeah, I don't care. You're not grabbing my anus.
You're not going to do it more than once. Because the first time is going to let me know that you're an anus grabber.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to keep my eyes on you.
Keep your butt fingers away from me.
And I'm just going to wear very thick.
Plus, I just think, Diddy's finger got to be stinking, right? He's got to have the stink finger because he just goes around sticking it in people's butts.
Diddy's got a stanky finger.
He's got a stanky finger.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's the name of today's episode.
Not to be confused with a stanky jungle. Dylan, we are late with an episode this week.
Gosh, I'm still smelling Diddy's finger.
I know, right?
Ugh.
I just gave everybody a really graphic image that they're probably turning their nose up in the car right now while they're driving off. Ooh, Heather's gross. Yes, I am.
Yeah, so in lieu...
I am gross, and I'm not afraid to just say the gross shit.
You have a great little treat in lieu of an episode.
Well, in lieu of a case, Dylan. Okay, we don't have a true crime case this week, but I am bringing you some listener stories.
Oh my gosh.
And we've been sitting on these for a while since our last episode, which was that in November or December? It's been a minute since we had listener stories.
Well, let's just say it's a perfect time for a nice little listener stories episode.
Yeah, like I said, it's been a minute. I've been sitting on these. Folks have emailed us at mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com. That is a great way to get your listener story to us. You can also drop us a line on Instagram.
A few arrived by carrier pigeon.
We had some. Actually, it was really hard for me earlier today. I was transcribing smoke signals.
Yes, and some ravens showed up as well.
Well, and I just wasn't sure if it was the message, like a smoke signal, or if it was just you smoking, because you're a smoky mouth bitch.
Thanks.
So the story may not be correct because Dylan was interfering with communications, as usual.
I was trying to wrangle the pigeons.
You're so goofy.
Let's get into it. I can't wait to be entertained.
Really quick though, would you eat a pigeon?
Like for a meal, or do you mean like if I'm dating the pigeon?
Well, either way.
Oh,
well, okay. That brings. Okay, that's a whole new set of questions that I need answered.
If it was like, I've never even had like a little pheasant or a game. What they call
the Cornish game hens?
Yeah, the Cornish game hen. I've been wanting to try those little tiny birds.
A squab.
But I've never had one.
You've never had anything like that?
No, so I don't. I think I would do it.
So your poultry has been limited to chickens and turkey.
Duck,
You've
chicken,
had duck. Okay.
turkey.
What about a goose?
I don't know if it was a goose.
Did you have a duck goose?
It could have been a gander.
I mean, I've had foie gras or whatever. The pate.
Yeah, I don't want that.
I've had it before. It was good. It's rich.
Yeah.
You don't need a whole lot of it.
It comes from the fat, diseased liver of the poor animal.
So I was just asking because I've seen people like on the internets talking about like raising pigeons and eating pigeons.
Oh, well, you know what? I'm going to guess it tastes like any other small bird like that. I mean, honestly, pheasant.
Well, my
hen.
my other question to people who eat pigeons, I thought they were drones. I didn't think they were real birds.
Really? Okay. Hot take today.
Isn't that what they say?
No, I will say I love quail eggs, but you got to eat like 50 of them.
I've never had a quail egg.
They're so tiny.
What do they taste like?
They're very rich. It's comparable.
So like the pate.
It's comparable to a duck egg, which is really rich and full of taste.
I've never had that either.
It's very rich.
I'm living in a material world, and I'm a material girl, but I've never had a duck egg.
All right, enough about the birds Heather hasn't eaten.
I want a golden goose. Okay, but back to the other question. So if you were dating a pigeon, you would eat the pigeon?
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, I enjoy.
You're going to eat the pigeon's
having
ass.
the
You're Diddy. You're going to grab that pigeon's anus. Okay, this is too much, Dylan.
Gosh, baby.
You're going to get sued.
I would, do everything I could.
This is what happens. This is why we cannot record an episode late at night, because I'm loopy and I've had coffee.
Yeah.
And my ADHD or whatever, my neurodivergent brain is just... It's racing, Dylan.
My letters.
In a million directions.
My letters are bothering me.
Your letters are bothering you?
Yeah.
Gosh, it happens. I know. Me too, Dylan. All right. So let's get back to what we were discussing. We have listener stories.
Yeah.
And they have arrived.
And various modes. And let's get into it.
So are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. You look excited. First listener story. You look serious.
Oh, dude, I can't wait.
Put on your serious face.
I'm just like, is it paranormal? Is it cryptid? Is it, I can't imagine what it is.
Okay, here it starts. After I graduated from high school, the summer before I went to college, I got into a huge fight with my parents. I won't go into details because that's another twisted tale. But I packed up my things and moved out. My boyfriend's mother was a lovely woman, and she allowed me to stay with them. I grew up in South Carolina, and there were a lot of old historic homes. My boyfriend's house had been built in the 1800s. There were even some old graves in the woods behind the property, which were somehow connected to the original owner. Everyone in the house had experienced something, and something is in quotations.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. How groovy would that be to buy a historic home, and you've got like a family plot on the property?
Well, there's pros and cons to everything.
Well, I only see pros.
That's super awesome and cool seeming, but that could kind of be scary.
No. I would love to live next to a graveyard. That's my dream.
You would live in the graveyard.
Yes. Can I just have people buried around my house?
Yeah.
That would be a really good deterrent, to keep guests away, like unwanted visitors. People aren't just going to pop on over out the blue.
That could be a new $1 million idea. Rent your yard, rent a grave.
I like it.
Yeah. And if they don't pay up, you dig them up and throw them out by the curb.
That could pay your mortgage. We could look into the legality of this. Okay. Back to my story. His sister told me once she was out in the backyard, she saw a man who appeared to be dressed like a farmer digging in the dirt. When he realized she was looking at him, the man chased her back into the house.
Okay. What the hell?
Not okay.
No.
I don't want to be chased by a farmer.
Your farmers are kind of scary because they're always very rough, very nice people typically, but just hard individuals.
Well, I just think of like the unsettling American Gothic painting. Like the
Yes.
farmer with the pitchfork.
Yes, very severe face.
Yeah.
Tan leather skin.
A working person.
Yeah,
They've been out
and they got weapons.
in the weather.
They're weathered.
Okay.
I like it.
Let's see. My boyfriend said he had seen a woman's figure walking down the stairs with a lantern on more than one occasion. Joan, the mother, had many ghostly tales. My first ghostly encounter happened after I'd been in the house for about 3 weeks. I was sleeping in his sister's room, she had moved out by then, and woke up in the middle of the night. I was facing a window. I noticed there was a dark shadow in the corner of the room that seemed to have a human shape. After my eyes adjusted for a moment, I told myself it was maybe a floor lamp. I rolled over and went back to sleep. But the next morning, I remembered waking up in the middle of the night and turned to the corner, but there was no lamp there. That corner was empty. I mentioned this to my boyfriend. I could tell he was uncomfortable, maybe not wanting to scare me further. He finally tells me that he woke up in the middle of the night too because he felt there was something in his room watching. He needed to use the bathroom but was too afraid to go. Eventually, he got up and turned on a light, and there was nothing in his room. As we were discussing our shared experiences, his mother walked in and told us that she had had something happen to her that night. She said around 4 a.m., because she had glanced at her alarm clock, something suddenly caused her to wake up like she was having a bad dream. When she woke up, she said her heart was racing and she felt scared, like truly frightened. That's when she saw movement, like someone slipped around the corner out into the hallway.
Man, I would never sleep again in this house.
The three of us had each seen a dark, shadowy figure, and likely around the same time. After that, I felt the house was off, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Eventually, I returned to my parents' house, and we made up.
Damn. So, yeah, it's either go live with the ghosts or argue with your parents. Right? Which one you going to do?
I mean, I probably would just hang out with the ghosts.
I think you would stay with the ghosts.
At least they're quiet.
I think I'd trust the ghosts.
Probably not nagging at you to take the trash out.
Right? They don't care. And they can't smell a little stinky ass trash.
Yeah.
Because they got ghost nose.
Yeah, I bet. Oh my gosh, they might pinch your anus. Okay.
Oh my gosh. That seems like a very malevolent spirit if it's pinching your anus.
The Diddy spirit.
With old dookie fingers.
All right, let's move along here.
Oh my gosh.
Mountain Murders. Let me blow your mind with the time I felt like Jamie Lee Curtis in a horror movie starring me, scared shitless. It's so bizarre I think about it quite often. I was babysitting my nieces, allowing my older half-sister and her husband to go out for the night. Under normal circumstances, the kids would stay with my parents, but they were busy for some reason. So since I didn't grow up with my half-sister, there's a 16-year age gap, we had been making efforts to get to know each other better. I volunteered to babysit. My nieces were 6 and 8 at the time. I just moved back home because the economy tanked and I got laid off from my job, had to leave my apartment, broke up with my significant other. At the time, I'd spent the last few months just, we'll say, licking my wounds. Anyway, I wanted to feel useful and also get to know my nieces a little bit more. My sister and her husband were going to a concert or something. It was like 2 hours away in a larger city, so they told me it would be pretty late when they got in. I planned to spend the night. I had strict instructions that the girls were not allowed to stay up past 10 p.m., which seemed reasonable for a weekend night. Now, at first, we played outside, then made our way indoors as the sun was setting to watch movies and play video games. I kept asking the girls if they were hungry, but they kept saying no. I offered them everything in the house. This is such a, authentic story.
Yeah, this is a very kid thing to do. Run around all day. You know damn well they're hungry.
Yeah.
But they're just like, no, I'm okay.
They don't want the grilled cheese. They don't want the mac and cheese. They don't want the tomato soup. They don't want the sandwich, whatever you're offering them.
And as soon as you shut the kitchen down, wrap everything up for the evening.
Then they're hungry.
Here their little hungry asses come.
Yeah, like right when it's bedtime.
Oh, my gosh.
This sounds like a Dylan story, too.
Yeah.
All right. So my niece mentioned that her mom had left money for pizza, and they both cheered when I agreed to order delivery. I placed a phone call to a well-known pizza chain, and they told me since it was a Saturday night, the delivery would take anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. I also had to pay with my card. Okay. So the girls and I go back to entertaining ourselves, waiting on the pizza. An hour had passed, and I started paying attention to the driveway. My sister's house is off a 2-lane road with houses sort of dispersed like every few miles. From the road, you turn onto my sister's driveway, which takes you about 1/8 of a mile to the house. The upstairs living room has a big sliding glass door which leads to a balcony. The downstairs door is used by guests sometimes and leads to a garage, but there's also a side entrance up a set of stairs to get to like the main living area of the house, and it's a 3-story house. I keep an eye on the driveway. A car sits at the top of the road for just a few minutes. Now, I figure it's the pizza delivery person, and maybe they're confused about the address. Now, there is a mailbox at the end of the driveway which has numbers on it. Finally, the car turns in and pulls down about halfway between the road and the house. It just sits there. I'm thinking the delivery person is maybe making sure they're at the right house or checking their orders. The car sits there for what I feel is almost an awkward amount of time. After 10 minutes or so, I open the sliding glass door and walk out into the balcony, waving down to the driver below. I couldn't see inside the car because it was starting to be dark by now. The car moves forward, stopping in front of the garage. I see a man open up the door with pizza in hand. I call down to him and tell him that he can just leave the pizza on the picnic table at the bottom of the stairs, that he doesn't need to come all the way up. Her stairs are steep, I should mention. As I'm telling him this, my nieces push past me and run up to the banisters. They're like, "Oh, yay, pizza's here." The driver then insisted on bringing the pizza up the stairs to us.
What? Hold on now. So once he sees the little kids, he insists on coming all the way up.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's a little weird.
I don't know why, but it seemed off to me. Like, just leave the pizza downstairs. I called down again, but he told me that he would bring it to the door. I felt uncomfortable with me being the only adult, so I barely opened the door to snatch the pizza box from him. The guy stood there for a moment, not saying a word. That's when I mentioned I had paid for the pizza over the phone with my card and had added a tip to the bill. I mean, that makes sense. Maybe he's standing there waiting for money.
Well, yeah, she's just letting him know, "I've already took care of everything, tipped you, thank you. This is the end of the interaction."
With this, he nodded and walked away back to the car. When I thought we were finally in the clear, I noticed his car is just sitting in the driveway, longer than normal, and watched carefully from the upstairs window while I put the girls' food on plates in the kitchen. Now, after some minutes passed, I saw the car leave the driveway. We sat down to eat pizza. About 15-20 minutes had gone by, and I was starting to clean up the dinner mess when I had the doorbell ring out. By now, it's late, and we weren't expecting guests. I look downstairs to the driveway, but there's no vehicle that I can see. My sister would come in through the garage, through a different door in the house, so I knew it wasn't her. I felt a chill and was nervous to answer the door. When I did, it was the pizza delivery guy standing on the porch in the dark.
No.
I left the door chain on, so when I opened the door, it just barely cracks. The guy explained that he was having car trouble just down the road and had walked back here hoping I would let him use the phone to call his employer. He needs to get a ride back to town. I asked if he had a cell phone. I mean, this was at a time when nearly everybody has a cell phone, especially somebody delivering pizza, I would guess. He asked if he could come in the house. I told him I could make the call for him.
Very smart.
But he insisted that he needed to use the phone. I told him if he had a phone number, I'd be glad to make a call for him. He was welcome to sit down at the picnic table and wait, or I could just let them know where his car was broken down if he wanted to wait at the car. We exchanged words back and forth for a bit, and I was adamant this guy was not coming inside. At one point, he even asked if we were there alone, and if that's why I didn't want him in the house.
Second red flag. Dude, now when you had this mysterious, after you're already feeling uneasy. It was kind of weird, awkward. The guy's sitting there a long time. He's, insists on bringing it up. All that stuff's already happened. So you're having uneasiness about you already. Now, when you hear this knock on the front door and realize it's this damn same pizza driver, I would be so weirded out at that point.
Yeah, not okay.
And so this guy continues to act very strange.
Well, just this insistence to come in the house.
This asking
that's
questions
the part
like,
that I'm
are you
kinda
alone?
like, what's going on here?
Are you alone? Is it just you and these kids? Oh my gosh, who even talks like that? Besides killers.
I know, right? Listen, okay, so let's see here. So that's why I didn't want him in the house, because I was there alone. I get frustrated and tell him either I can make a call for him or he can leave. If what he's telling me is true, then I know there's another house down near where he had broken down and he could seek help there. By now, I'm starting to panic. I don't feel good about the situation at all. I tell him I will call the restaurant directly since I already placed a call to them earlier and let them know he needs help. Instead, he walks off into the darkness. By now, I can barely see around the house's perimeter. There are motion lights down by the garage entry, and I can see him going back up the driveway. I'm just feeling uneasy. It wasn't 15, 20 minutes later that the motion light activates, which I can still see from the upstairs. I walked out onto the balcony, and the guy is standing in the driveway looking up at me.
Oh, no.
He asks again if he can come inside to use the phone. By now, I'm getting really aggravated and scared. I don't know if this guy is dangerous, but I want him to leave. I tell him I'm not allowing him in the house, and that's when he gets huffy with me. I finally tell him to go. That's when I get on the phone with the pizza place and complain about the driver. They assured me this was unusual behavior and that the driver did have a cell phone. They had not heard from him, but told me they would address the situation. The rest of the night, I was so scared until my sister came home. I believe the guy was a predator of sorts.
Yeah, how could you not? I mean, honestly.
And this is signed Brittany. That's such a weird story.
Yes, Brittany.
This is not okay. And I understand why you feel like you're in a Jamie Lee Curtis movie, because this is like The Strangers or something.
He keeps showing up. Every time you think you're done with him, he comes back and asks to come inside again.
Did he not have other pizzas to deliver?
Look, I'm telling you, that's about the time I'll be on the phone.
Is he like an escaped convict, and he's hijacked this pizza car and is like got the pizza person in the trunk, and he's like a murderer?
Yeah, and it's like Cosmic Pizza is the name of the pizza place.
Why is it gotta be Cosmic?
I don't know. It's like a movie pizza place name.
Isn't that the Toy Story pizza place?
Is it?
I don't know.
Oh my god!
I think you're thinking of the Pizzagate.
No.
Cosmic Ping Pong Pizza.
I was not thinking of Pizzagate. That's a very movie pizza place name. I think there's a very famous movie with a pizza place named that. Anywho. Anyway,
I'm like weirded out. I don't want a pizza person coming to my house now.
I'm going to go check my doors and windows here at my home now.
It leaves you feeling unsettled, right?
Because that's not okay.
All right. You ready for our next one?
What if the poor schlub was just high as hell on marijuana and just needed some help?
You
His
look
car's
like you're
on fire.
high as hell right now.
I wish.
You just look stupid like that all the time?
This is my sober look.
Gosh.
It's my big dumb face.
Maybe you need to smoke something.
Damn, does that make me handsome?
I don't know.
Or does it make me smolder? I was telling you the other day, I was watching this guy at the gym smolder.
Yeah, you did tell me this
in the
story.
mirror at himself. It was a young cat, and he was handsome. He was a real fit guy. But he's talking to 3 or 4 other young dudes.
Yes.
And they're all trying to talk amongst each other. They can't keep him out of the mirror. He keeps looking directly in the mirror and doing these little poses and smoldering at himself. Very, very.
He was in love with himself.
This guy was so in love with himself.
I wish I had that kind of confidence and self-esteem. I want to like myself that much.
I don't know if I want to love myself.
You know what I've realized though? I don't like people who like themselves.
Oh,
I
wow.
like people who are, full of self-hatred and loathing.
Wow.
Those are my people.
That's her tribe.
It's true. When I meet people who just have too much, they like themselves too much, they're just not my people.
Okay, so we've had a spooky, and now that was a very scary thriller type story.
Yeah. And
Thank you, Brittany.
Of the gym, I got to address this.
Okay.
Look, I was young once. I used to be cute and fit 20 years ago, right?
I still think you're cute and fit.
But every damn time that we go to the gym and I go in the locker room, I always walk in on some younger woman, I would say maybe teenager up to maybe 25.
Okay.
And they're wearing those butt lifting leggings.
We all know the leggings.
They're all over
the viral leggings from TikTok.
Yes.
And I don't think they look that great.
That are supposed to do something to your butt.
I think they get up in your crack a little too aggressively. And I feel like it's more than needs to be happening.
I bought some and I put them on, and they just made my butt look weird because I don't think the pants are a little bit too big and they're sort of saggy. And so my butt doesn't look good in them. Anywho.
Yeah.
Every time I walk in the locker room at the gym, I catch some hot young thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, they're all beautiful.
Right.
Right. Taking pictures of their butts in the mirror with those leggings on.
Okay.
I've caught this probably 10 or 12 times. And the thing that gets me about it, Dylan, is it's one thing, to be posing and taking your hot butt picture, but they don't seem to be embarrassed at all. Like they have no shame in their game. Like if I get caught taking a selfie or something, it kind of embarrasses me a little bit.
Dude, anytime I'm trying to take a selfie, which is very, very seldom.
Yes.
I feel so goofy doing it out in public.
I
look around, I hope nobody sees me.
Me too. Even if we're like taking a selfie
Yeah.
like at a concert or something. It's like I always feel a little awkward. And there have been many things that I've like, we've not taken a picture or something
Right.
because I'm too embarrassed to get my phone out and take a selfie. But these people, I mean, they're bending over, they're popping it out. It's like Deanna, they're popping and locking, they're doing hip hop dance. I don't know, Snapchatting it, taking it in the mirror, and they don't have any shame about
I
it.
think some of these pants are out of control.
And again, I wish I had that much confidence.
I don't think I need to see every single wrinkle of your body, bud. I mean, some of these pants are out of control.
You think
I think
so?
it's a little too much. I mean, seriously. I mean, I don't know what to do about
Well,
it.
look, as a jealous middle-aged woman, I'm like, how dare you come in here wearing your sports bra to the gym and just the sports bra. I mean, I guess if I was like super skinny and had a six-pack and like, looked like a fashion model, I would probably be wearing that too.
Well,
I'm
look,
really just hating on them.
But this happens with...
But I am also kind of like, you could wear a tank top. It's not going to kill you.
It happens with males and females and everyone in between. No, I'm saying... You can tell the people that are just there to work out, and they may have happened to have.
I guess that's my other issue is that a lot of times the least clad people,
Right.
the people who are wearing the least amount of clothes, also seem to be the ones doing the least amount of gym work.
Well, it's true.
It's mostly just standing around and posing in their outfits, and I see this with dudes too, like smoldering in the mirror
Yeah,
as they flex their bicep.
they're flexing at themselves,
Yeah.
and then other people's here to put in work. You see the guy over there in a dirty T-shirt,
That's me,
that's
bud.
3 sizes too big.
Everything's like
Putting
sweat,
in
is
work,
just like
bud.
bleach stained.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna wear something cute to the gym. I'm not gonna wear makeup. I'm just there to like sweat off this old saggy flat tire that's drooping around my waist. You know what I mean?
Girl, I put some Fix-A-Flat in that thing,
Somebody needs
and we'll
to.
ride it to town.
Gosh.
All right, so we've had paranormal and super scary. Where are we
Okay,
going next?
We've had the diddler. We've had gym butt shots. What else? I can't get enough of talking about butts today.
Oh, God. Anus pinching. Apparently that's a thing. Look,
The diddler who's the fiddler. We're calling him the diddler fiddler because he's fiddling with your butthole.
he's a diddler on the roof.
Yes.
Yeah, trying to come inside.
Oh, gosh.
Keep him out there.
Okay. I'm never going to stop with the Diddy jokes.
I'm
by the
not
way.
going to either, ever.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. Hey guys, hope y'all are traveling safe and seeing all the sights. Well, we're seeing a few things, I'll tell you that.
We're seeing a lot.
I got to see the Gaffney, finally got to see the Gaffney Peach. I've heard about it, I've seen pictures of it, but I actually physically got to see the Gaffney, South Carolina water tower that looks like a giant butt peach.
It's a big peach.
It's very juicy.
And it looks like a really nice butt.
It could wear those TikTok leggings.
Yeah, dude, you should totally wrap
If that peach was taking a butt photo in the gym locker room, I would be in awe.
Yeah.
It's juicy. I just want to take a big old bite out of
I
it.
can't believe you've never seen that.
No, I've never seen it.
Wow. Well,
So-
you've seen it now.
I synced it.
All right. So where are we going next?
I always loved the show ever since I was told about it from a mutual friend, and I've never looked back. I had a lot of things in my life that's been supernatural. Some big and some small. I've already sent in 2 of my big stories. This one happened up on the Blue Ridge Parkway. I'm not originally from Appalachia, but I moved here when I was young with my mom and one of my sisters and have been here since. When we moved here, we were briefly homeless when our housing situation fell through, and we actually stayed in a car up on the parkway for a few days, which was actually lovely, except for one night. Okay, now this is going to be good,
Oh,
right?
dude, there's so many legends and stuff about being in the, these national forests.
Well, there's
at night.
the Brown Mountain Lights.
Yeah.
But I've heard tale of some spots along the Blue Ridge Parkway. I think Big Witch Gap is one of them where people claim to see similar like light phenomena.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to check it out. Seems like every time I've tried to do that, it's like overcast or cloudy. And
Just not a good night for
I
it.
can never seem to catch it on a clear night.
And now you done drove your ass all the way up
Well,
on
I
the
get
parkway.
up there and I'm like, hell yeah. And then here comes like a storm. It's almost like the simulation is against me. Okay. At night, sometimes we'd take a blanket out and roll up together and watch the stars, which is gorgeous up there. And that night we were all cuddled up just watching the stars when the weather just got cold for no reason. It's cooler up there just naturally, but it went from normal to cold. Yes, the temperature up there can drop so quick, Dylan.
Yeah, and it can, where you're at, what you call in town, if you will, no matter where you're at along the parkway.
Those elevation changes.
And you
man.
can go up,
Brutal.
4,000, 5,000, 6,000 feet in some cases. And it can truly be
it might be
completely
90
different.
degrees
Yeah.
like down in the valley, but you get up there and it's like 30 degrees with like a wind chill. And you're like, how the hell did I end up with like, frostbite?
Yeah, exactly.
Then it got quiet. It's already quiet, but it was like deafening quiet. It was uncomfortable. My mom sat up to tell us we were going back in the car when a pair of red eyes came out of the forest.
Oh my
You know
gosh.
when you flash a light in a big animal's eye and it glows? It was like that, but there was no light anywhere. None of us said anything or even moved. I think we were too scared. But the way it moved was the weird part. So the way a four-legged animal walks and the way a two-legged animal walks are completely different. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but it's different. The cadence is very different, and this thing was on two legs. It walked out of the woods, walked across the parking lot to about maybe 5 yards from us, and then it kind of turned its head. Body? Its eyes turned to us when they disappeared for a second. Then they were back and moved across the parking lot to the other side of the woods, and it was gone.
Oh my God.
As soon as it disappeared, Mom grabbed me and my sister and hauled us into the car, and we were off that mountain. No idea what that was. I was little, but I remember those eyes, and I know what happened. My mom was alive. When my mom was alive, she remembered too, and I heard her tell the story just like I said, so I know I wasn't making up something weird or that I had dreamt it. My sister that was there doesn't like to talk about the supernatural, but I did hear her admit to my mom one night that she remembered it as well. It was real. No idea what it was, though. I still go up there from time to time, and when my mom passed away, we scattered her ashes up there. So I go up there a lot, and I've never seen it again, but I remember it. I know this was a long one. If you can't use it, that's okay, blah, blah, blah. No, we will use it.
Oh no, we used it.
And this is from Kat.
Cat. That sounds like certainly a cryptid of some sort. I mean, what could it be?
I don't know.
Those red eyes.
Maybe it's a rabbit elk.
Is it the Mothman? Maybe. Maybe it's the Mothman.
He's just he's like, I'm up on the parkway.
He's just hanging out.
He's gearing up. He's gonna go down to the casino, play a little blackjack.
Oh, he's gonna have a really nice evening.
Maybe eat a tasty buffet meal. Right?
Okay.
All
I've
right.
heard the Mothman is a big foodie.
The
Yeah.
parkway's creepy at night. I mean, we've gone up there to stargaze. We enjoy that. And you're up there. It's pitch black. It's so quiet, and then all of a sudden you'll hear like a cracking in the woods, like something's walking around,
Yeah.
and you can always tell if it's like a big animal or because you know it sounds like heavier.
No,
It's a little creepy.
the parkway is almost like sometimes at the beach. You kind of it helps you realize that nature's still in control.
Yes,
Like the parkway's so wild, and there's not a lot of light pollution. There's just not people around. Period. And if you get out there and turn your artificial lights, your car and such off, it is just pitch black. And, you have all the legends and myths about these types of woods. You hear the disembodied voices calling your name. They say never leave the path. You have all kinds of weird creatures. Hell, that sounded like a damn skinwalker mixed with
I don't
something
know
else.
what that was.
And I know exactly what she meant about it, even though it was walking upright. It is like it didn't naturally walk upright. You know what I mean? Anytime like a bear or something like that gets on its back feet and walks, it doesn't look like a bipedal creature.
You mean like when Rufus is doing his little circus dog routine and he's like walking on his little back legs?
Exactly.
His little
like
hind
that.
legs?
It doesn't look natural.
No, it doesn't. He looks like a little tiny clown.
Well, imagine Rufus 7 foot tall with red eyes.
No, I don't. He's vicious now and he only weighs 9 pounds.
Oh my God, he's 9 pounds of fury.
He'll eat somebody's ass up with that tiny little mouth.
He would make such a small abrasion on your leg.
He could grope your anus with his tiny mouth.
Oh my God.
Okay, I'm
Ew,
sorry.
it's perfect for that.
Listen, I know. I
Jesus.
can't help myself. Hey guys, I've been listening for several months now and I enjoy the listener stories. I always thought to myself, I wish I had a spooky or crazy story I could write in. I did have a traumatic childhood, but not exactly something I would write in and tell. Girl, I feel you. And I do have a dog that I feed in a high chair. There was an episode that Dylan said listener stories don't have to be crime related, so I would tell myself that I need to write in the story about how I ended up with a dog that has to eat in a high chair.
I'm so glad she did.
We're here for it.
This is
right?
an incredible.
This is what we're here for.
You know how
stories.
I instantly wanted to know more. I feel like this should be a book. Dog eats in high chair, or it should at least be a clickbait
No,
title.
this is great.
Yeah.
Anyway, I already mentioned that I've only been listening to the podcast for a few months, so I have hundreds of episodes to go back and listen to. Last week, I was listening to a past episode of a murderer who decapitates his victims and kept their heads. My mouth dropped, and I said, oh gosh, I do have a listener story. Now, you see, because of my traumatic childhood, I have a very poor memory. Dylan, you can relate to that.
What? What were we talking about?
He can't remember anything. I can take nearly anything that happens and literally forget that it happened. And this was one of those things I made myself forget about. With all that being said, here goes the story. I was 19 years old and in college. I was enrolled in a health program called polysomnographic technology, aka sleep studies. So it basically means you'll watch people sleep for a living and help them breathe when necessary. I mean, that's kind of cool.
Sounds like a pretty cool job.
I would take that class, right?
Yeah.
I want to watch people sleep.
I imagine that customers would be a lot better if they were asleep.
I hear the secrets that you keep.
Bom, bom, bom.
When you're talking in your sleep.
Talking about you was talking about your bank numbers and your account numbers.
I know
and
you was
stuff.
cheating on Earl.
Talking about your mistresses.
I know you was cheating on Dan with Earl.
Oh gosh.
I'm gonna tell him. All right. So it was the first semester of the program, and everyone had just been assigned their clinical rotations for the next 3 months. I looked down at the schedule and was pleased that my clinical was only 2 counties away from my house, so about a 45-minute drive. A few days later, it was the first night for clinicals to start. I left my house early to ensure I would not be late because of our professor can track the time and location from an app. I pulled into the parking lot and recognized a classmate. She was about my age, so I was a bit relieved that I was paired with someone I had spoken to in class before. This sleep center was an office-like building that sat a few blocks away from the main highway and next door to a sketchy-looking 24/7 gas station. Aren't they all sketchy?
All gas stations?
The 24/7 ones?
Oh, yes.
You know,
Well,
you go in at like 2 in the morning and somebody's in there like buying some hot Cheetos with some change.
And a fresh white tea.
And like somebody might be in there buying lottery tickets.
Yeah, you told me any little store that, well, you proved it at this point just the other day. If it's such and such mart, food mart, so-and-so mart, it's typically a pretty sketchy gas station that happens to sell a few
especially
groceries.
if it's called like food mart, like Jay's Food Mart.
Yeah.
Right? And that usually has like bars on the windows.
Big Ron's Food Mart.
Yeah, I'm not going to shop at Big Ron's.
I want to go in there because you know what? I know they have those great big incense in that places like that.
Big incense.
Incense sticks are like 3 foot long.
Okay, I've never seen those.
Dude, it's awesome.
I must not be going in the right store.
And they smell so good.
They sell incense in gas stations?
Yeah.
Okay.
You ever never been to hood stores before?
No.
Well, let's be honest. We're talking about hood stores, folks.
I mean, I've seen like little trinkets sold in the gas station. Like maybe a world's greatest papaw magnet.
Oh, no Wizards or Dragons ceramics? You've not been to the right gas stations.
Okay.
Let's move on.
I don't spend a lot of time in the gas station, I'll be honest. Okay. I guess I was expecting something that was close to a hospital or maybe even like on a hospital campus. My classmate and I walked up to the door and we both looked at each other. This didn't exactly look like the place that we might help ourselves into. Although the door was probably unlocked, we knocked. A man with dark hair, probably 35 years old, with a skinnier to medium build, opened the door. He had a vape in one hand and the other hand slouching in his scrub pockets as he looked at us. My classmate said, "Hi, my name is Hannah. We're clinical students assigned here for the semester." I smiled and said, "Hi, my name is Tiffany." He was very nice and said, "Hey," as he put his vape in his mouth and let out a puff. It struck me as a bit odd considering we were in a healthcare facility, a sleep and pulmonary facility at that. And here he is smoking inside. Okay.
That is a bit odd.
Keeping it classy. The entire place was filled with carpet aside from the bathrooms. It was a bit outdated, and I couldn't help but smell an odor of some sort. It wasn't anything too awful, just an odor that caught me off guard for a healthcare facility. We walked to a back room filled with computers and chairs. He pointed to a black cushioned rolly chair and said, "That's my chair, but y'all can sit wherever you want." We claimed our spots with our belongings and took a seat. Hannah and I chatted for about 20 minutes. He got done typing on the computer and turned to us and told us that his name is Jason. I asked if he usually worked by himself, and he said yes, this is a smaller lab, and only one tech works at night with 2 patients. I figured that, but was just trying to make small talk. Jason turned around and said, "So do either of y'all go to church?" We both kind of shrugged our shoulders and said, "Yeah, sometimes." I could tell that Hannah and I both thought that was kind of an odd question to ask the first night meeting. Without being asked, Jason began to tell us that he doesn't believe in God, but doesn't worship Satan either. Okay.
Oh, my God.
We both just nodded, and there was like a pause, and we're like, okay. He said, "I like dark stuff, though." There was a pause, and Hannah said, "Oh, well, that's cool." I just turned away, trying to avoid that conversation, which it didn't last. It was time to set up the patient's room, so he invited us to follow him. Okay, is this guy purposely just trying to be odd?
Well, he's doing a good job of it.
Yeah, like maybe get some social skill. He's worked by himself too much in this sleep center, right?
Well, yeah, maybe this is him trying to be friendly. He just doesn't know how.
He needs some interaction. We did. So he invited us to follow him. We did, and made it into a room that is similar to an outdated motel room with a halfway made up bed and some medical supplies piled in the corner. While he started making the bed, Hannah and I stood side by side and just gave each other a look. I spoke up and was like, "Would you like for me to get some new bed sheets? I don't mind if you tell me where a supply room is." Jason kept making the bed up as he told us that this place is too cheap to constantly change the bed sheets.
That's so gross.
Well, apparently Tiffany was too. She says, "I was horrified. I could not believe I was going to watch someone sleep in the same sheets and pillowcase from a previous patient." He informed us how he sets up his medical supplies and gave us a few pointers, which was helpful considering we were new to it all. Now, after setting up both rooms, we all walked back into the computer room. He sat down and scrolled through his phone while Hannah and I talked some more. He was smoking his vape, and he said, "I hope y'all don't mind my vape in here." We both nodded and said we don't mind. About that time, he unscrewed his vape and poured it onto the carpet. I was horrified once again. Who pours anything into the carpet that we're all standing on when there's a trash can 5 feet away? He filled it with something else, screwed it back together, and said, "Good, because this place doesn't care."
Oh my gosh.
Jeez.
How did this guy make vaping this gross?
I don't know.
Like,
How does he work here is what I want to know.
I would rather somebody chew tobacco than this guy vape. What is happening?
You want him to have a big old chaw of red man?
Well, I feel like it would be more contained and
my
more
dad,
sanitary.
My dad used to chew tobacco, and they always have like a spit cup. It was so gross. Okay.
Well, or he could be pouring his vape out into the carpet.
I mean, I guess
I wonder,
either way.
it's probably like his strawberry mountain or something. He poured it out.
Strawberry mountain?
Yeah, and he got like some blueberry burst he's been wanting to try.
Yeah.
Okay.
A tropical pina colada flavor.
Ooh, that sounds good.
I know. I've been thinking about a pina colada lately. You know what I really want is a fucking margarita, bud.
This girl needs a margarita.
Like a frozen margarita with lots of salt.
We're going to get you one of those.
I'm going to lick it around the rim, Dylan.
Tomorrow.
I'm going to give that margarita a rim job. Okay.
I'll be like, give her the P. Diddy rim.
Ugh, that sounds tangy.
Put some brown sugar around the top of it.
That sounds tangy.
Yes.
I'll take it.
Well, what's this element that's making my eyes water? It's really interesting.
Okay. Now, I wanted to say, what the actual fuck? But I didn't. I'm a student, and he's the professional/worker here. We heard a knock on the door, and Jason jumped up. Hannah and I stayed in our seats. We whispered to each other about the carpet incident, and both agreed this place smells bad. Well, I guess now you know why. Jason was taking the patients to their rooms. He came back inside and said, "Fuck, I was hoping one of them didn't show up, so I only had one patient." We laughed so it wouldn't seem like we were, ignoring what he was saying. It took a couple hours to get the patients in bed and hooked up to all the equipment. Hannah and I took turns observing in the rooms so it wasn't crowded. Making small talk was awkward. This is not somewhere I'd feel comfortable with sleeping.
I would never be able to go to sleep in this place.
No, this sounds like a slasher movie or something. Plus, I'm like, this dude's totally unprofessional, and he's already off the bat, like, giving these girls bad training.
And how many times has
Or these
somebody
ladies.
slept in this set of covers and sheets?
I mean, none of this is okay. I feel like this place needs to be reported. Don't they have like standards?
I can smell the carpet.
Okay.
I can smell the bedding too.
So it's definitely not somewhere I'd want to work and ask people to sleep. All I could think about was the nasty bed sheets that weren't changed for this new patient. Anyway, it was about 11 p.m. and once the patients were asleep, I got out my lunch. Hannah began to do the same. Jason was talking to us about the gas station next door. He told us that he always gets his favorite snacks before shift. He said, quote, usually about 2 a.m., if we all stay really still, there's a mouse that will come out of hiding. I named him Jimmy, and I leave him crumbs at the doorway and watch his nose peek through to get the crumbs. He laughed like it was funny, so we did too, but all I could think was, ew.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sending in this non-horror story,
This
because
is a
it's
horror
turning
story.
out to be a real fucking nightmare.
So look, the place
I just can't even.
the place smells stale. You know that they're reusing bedding, which is going to gross you out. This guy's pouring stuff,
This guy's
sticky
crusty.
liquids into the carpet. And now
He's talking about a mouse.
he's bragging
About a mouse.
about the fact that he's feeding these pests that are, infesting.
I'm just wondering if this mouse is named Ralph and has a motorcycle.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I bet the mouse wears a smoking jacket.
Do you remember The Mouse and the Motorcycle?
Well, yeah, that was
I love that book.
Oh, is that what the book's
I
called?
think.
Oh, I was thinking Stuart Little, buddy. I like cars and
I
everything.
thought the mouse in the motorcycle, his name was Ralph. I could be wrong.
You're probably right.
It's been a long time, like 30 years. Okay.
So this guy is fattening up the rodents.
Goodness. So a couple hours went by. We all seemed on the quiet side, which is okay with me. A patient was calling out, which we could hear through the computer speaker. I looked over and Jason was asleep. Hannah woke him up and informed him that he had a patient that was asking for him. Once Jason came back into the room, things got quiet again. And there was the fucking mouse. Jason got excited and said, "There's Jimmy." Oh my God.
There's Jimmy. Is it Jimmy the mouse?
Jimmy.
Jimmy. Jimmy made it.
Oh. I was a bit entertained at how excited he was about this.
Yeah.
Gosh. I only seen it the one time, but where there is a mouse, there is mice. So I kept my eyes peeled the rest of the night, on edge that a mouse was going to scurry across my feet. We all were halfway talking about nothing in particular and scrolling on our phones. Jason said, quote, "So I said I like dark stuff. I think schizophrenic people are so cool. The way they think and the things they do is fascinating." Hannah and I both made a sound and acted like we were focused on our phones. We were obviously not interested in what he was saying, but he did not get the hint. He goes on to say that his favorite schizophrenic person would put women in sexual positions, cut their heads off, and put their head on a dresser for the next person to see walking through the door. Now, before I could process what he just said to me, he had his phone in my face showing me a picture of the man.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, this guy's a fucking weirdo, bud.
That's just too much.
Okay. I didn't know what to say to him. I was in shock that we are 19-year-old girls and he's telling us these disturbing things. I nodded my head and just said, "Oh." He kept talking and honestly, I had drowned him out because all I could think of was when I get out of here, I am never coming back. I waited for him to turn his chair away from us before I looked at Hannah. When I finally did look at her, I couldn't tell if she was scared, surprised, or both. I contemplated on leaving. I was extremely uncomfortable and felt unsafe. Maybe I was overreacting, but then I thought the worst that could happen is I get points taken off my next exam or I don't get credit for the clinical hours I had logged for the night. I didn't have Hannah's phone number, so it's not like I could text her and ask her what she was thinking. It was about 4 a.m. and Jason said he was ready to go home and these patients needed to get up. He grabbed his phone and about 6 seconds later, he had an awful screeching siren sound playing from it. He told us that he doesn't do this all the time as he got up and put the phone in the hallway of either patient's doors. Surprisingly, it didn't wake up either patient. This guy is like the most unprofessional clown. I'm assuming that if the doctor or whatever boss he has sees that he went inside the room to wake them, he would get into trouble. There is a video recording done with these studies, but if the patients wake up on their own, then it's okay. A few minutes had gone by and he said he knows how to wake them up. He took their CPAP titration level up and turned it as high as he could, as it would go as fast as he could. He left the high level on until the patient aroused awake, and then he turned it back down.
So he's gassing them awake with
As
their
he was
CPAP?
doing this, he said, "Take that." He did this to both patients. Take that. This guy's a maniac. I hope he doesn't work there anymore.
Oh my God.
I hope I never have to have a sleep study with Jason.
Dude, I'm never going to have one because I'm afraid Jason and his little pet mouse Jimmy are the ones who are going to give it to me.
I was horrified once again. Twice again. For the third time? Hell, I don't know. I had nothing to lose at this point. I was so ready to get out of there. I told Jason and Hannah that I was going to the gas station next door to get something to drink. Instead, I got into my car and went home. I thought there is no way my professor will believe that all this really happened. I looked through past emails my professor had sent to the entire class and found Hannah's email. I sent her one and told her that I'm sorry for leaving, but I couldn't have stayed there any longer. I also told her I was telling our professor all of this and I wasn't going to go back to that clinical location, even if it meant dropping out of the program. I reported everything to my professor, and she apologized for what I'd experienced. She told me that she had taken that location permanently off the clinical rotation list, and I was going to be moved to a different location. I was so relieved. A few days later, I received a phone call from a woman who said she was the instructor over the facility where Jason works. She asked if I would send her a written statement explaining the events that happened. I basically copied and pasted the email that I had sent my professor. I saved screenshots of the email, which is how I was able to remember every detail of that night to tell you guys. I don't know what happened after that, and maybe Jason still works there. I'm not sure. All I know is this isn't something sleep techs do, and don't let this crazy story keep you from getting a sleep study. Thanks for all the content you guys bring. Stay safe. And this is Tiffany from Alabama. Tiffany, thank you for sending this in, because honestly, this has got to be one of the scariest stories I think I've ever heard. This is very not okay.
This could be a movie. Seriously.
This guy.
This is $1 million idea.
Well, the fact that he is so entertained by this rat is this mouse.
Not to get so
Jimmy.
You
Don't know why, but this is really, it's funny.
Jason puts you to sleep. You're in the movie. You just think it's a normal sleep study, and you keep coming to with Jason in various states of debauchery with Jimmy the rat. And yeah.
Honestly, this guy sounds like a weirdo. Like, what is he doing to these patients? And like turning their CPAP up and saying, "Take that." I mean, this guy sounds unhinged.
He certainly shouldn't be in control of anyone's health in any form or fashion.
Jeez.
God. Well, thank you, Tiffany, and thank you for listening.
Thanks. I will not soon forget that story.
Thank everyone for listening to us. It makes us feel so damn good.
Are you ready for our next one?
Yeah, let's get another one in.
Dylan and Heather, I want to share with you the time I worked in a haunted hotel. It was built around the turn of the century, and in the basement, there had been a speakeasy during Prohibition times. I was told by other employees that gangsters frequented the establishment in the 1920s, and that one guy was murdered in a long corridor that was a bit of a secret passage from the speakeasy through the basement to a rear entrance/exit. He was stabbed to death. Several employees, including myself, heard piano music while in the basement, though there was nothing down there anymore except for laundry facilities and storage. A housekeeper claimed to see a bloody handprint appear and then disappear from a wall in one of the downstairs rooms.
Oh my God.
I would hear sounds of something heavy being moved around above me while I was at the front desk. It sounded like chains dragging. I don't know how else to describe it. Directly above the desk was a, quote, meeting room, which had to be reserved. There was never anyone using the room when we would hear these noises. A few guests complained about hearing loud noises in their rooms at night, and one person said the bed was shaking. And the most scary was a single person saying they felt they were being poked or prodded all night and couldn't sleep.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. Diddy's in their room.
Stop.
It's the ghost of Diddy. He's like, boo.
Stanky fingers.
It's like scary stories to tell in the dark.
Yeah.
Do you know about the stanky fingers?
Yeah, you heard the legend of the pinch stainers.
Have you heard of the fiddler diddler?
Oh my God, the fiddler's going to get you.
He's going to fiddle. He's going to diddle and fiddle.
Oh God.
Put my fingers in there. You like that?
That's why you have to clean up real good. You know, dirty kids, or the diddler will get you.
Ew.
That's what parents tell their kids, that legend, to make them take a really good bath.
The diddler will show up. Okay.
Yeah. Pinch that anus.
Let's see. We had a kitchen that provided room service, and the cooks described plates and glasses being thrown across the room with no explanation. It was the scariest job I've ever had, and this is signed Leashy Poo.
Oh my God, what was this? The Poltergeist Inn?
I guess.
That seems like a lot of activity.
I don't know. There's a lot of old haunted hotels out there. I mean, have you seen Ghost Adventures?
It's true. There's
Like
a whole...
every episode, they hit up like 2 or 3 haunted hotels.
Well, I think hotels typically have, if they've been around for a long
Think of all
time,
the
especially.
energy there.
Yeah. There's a lot of energy, especially back in the day. Hotels often were not just hotels.
Well, this sounds like it had a lot going on.
Right.
I mean, it's a hotel. It had a speakeasy during Prohibition. Somebody was murdered there, supposedly. I mean, this is all the makings for a ghost story, bud.
I assume every speakeasy, if it's a true speakeasy that's been around for decades, is haunted.
Well, I mean, you got to think there's probably like liquor and gambling,
Backroom deals,
fights,
yeah,
murder, ladies, sex.
Damn, I want to go to the speakeasy.
Anus is getting tickled.
Ah, shit. I
I'm
knew the
sorry.
place was dangerous.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I know you guys are all tired of hearing about butt stuff. Okay, moving along. Maybe I'll stop. Maybe I won't.
I don't think you're gonna.
Here's a camping story I've been sitting on for some years now. Mountain Murder seems like the perfect podcast to share it with. As a teenager, I went camping with a group of people I didn't know that well. They were all a little older than me. I was 17, and they were aged between 19 to 21. I made friends with one of the guys, we'll call him Greg, through work at a movie theater in my town. He was 19, wrapped up his first semester at college, and these were his, quote, friends. Everybody seemed cool enough, though I did feel a little out of place at first because there were 2 couples and then 3 of us single dudes. I thought we were going to a campground, but the guy who was driving/leading the trip, let's call him Bob, decided we should try one of the primitive sites so we could have more freedom to party.
Ooh, Bob and Greg. These are great alias names.
We planned on camping 2 nights, and when I say primitive sites, it wasn't like backcountry camping, but it was part of the campground which was rarely used, and actually about 2 miles away from the real campground, if that makes sense. The first night, it poured rain, despite the weather reports being clear for the whole trip. The couples ended up sleeping in Bob's SUV. I should also mention that one of the women drove, but it was a tiny 2-seater sports car, and she couldn't even take it past the main campground. She parked it and had to ride to the camp spot with us. It was cramped. I remember that. With 2 couples in the first 2 rows and 3 guys stuffed into the 3rd row seat. I ended up sleeping in a wet, mucky mess of a tent on the first night. The rain fly barely worked. The tarp blew away at the first gust of wind. I hardly slept at all on the hard ground.
Oh my
Not to mention that it was wet.
Dude, that sounds... you know what? When it pours the rain when you're camping, that's the worst. I mean, it really is. You can
Yeah, it does. But you're young. You made the best of it, right?
Oh, dude, shoot. When I was young, I'd sleep out there in the rain. I don't care.
The next day, things looked up a bit when the sun peeked out. We found a nice spot to swim in a nearby creek. Everyone was drinking except me because I wasn't interested in alcohol, especially camping. I had a bad experience with alcohol when I was 16, and it prevented me from drinking until I was well past 22. As the afternoon progressed into evening, we finally built a nice roaring campfire and made some food. That's when my friend Greg showed us some mushrooms he'd picked up for the camping trip. I had never eaten mushrooms before and didn't know what to expect. I let peer pressure get the best of me. Okay. This does not sound like a good... Look, me and camping and mushrooms, never going to work out, okay? Because my tummy hurts.
You're not
gonna
allowed to
work.
You're not allowed to eat mushrooms.
That's not going to work.
Not those kinds.
No.
Because your tummy gets really mad.
I'm not going to do that camping.
No.
That's bad. Okay, so me and Greg eat the mushrooms along with Bob's girlfriend and the other couple. Bob and the other single guy, we'll call him Larry, didn't eat the mushrooms. Okay, so we have Bob, Larry, and Greg.
It's great.
This is like all dad names. I start tripping balls. I'm sitting by the fire, afraid to move, not sure if what is happening to me, when suddenly Bob and his girlfriend, who is high as hell, get into an argument. Bob thought she was flirting with Larry, and they all end up in a big fight. In the meantime, I'm freaking out. I don't like the yelling or the arguing, and I'm feeling like any minute the fire is going to suck me into it.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah, so tripping for the first time, and there's no better phrase to describe something than tripping balls. I mean, it means exactly what's happening to you. It sounds like that. and now you're tripping for the first time, and someone starts arguing, which would freak me out in the best
and
of
you're
circumstances.
just staring at a fire
and
having this feeling that the fire's going to suck you into it.
Yes.
I mean, that's not okay.
No.
That's pretty scary. Like, oh gosh, I'm in hell. Ah! Right? Okay. Why are you looking at me like that?
No, that's exactly what it's like.
You look like you're on something right now. Are you okay?
I'm high on life.
Yeah, your eyes look really glazed over, bud.
Well, honey, this is my glazed stare. You keep asking me if I'm on something, and I'm like, it's just me.
You look rough. Then Bob disappears, and we realized he has left us, got into his vehicle, and drove away, leaving us behind with his crazy girlfriend who is laughing and crying at the same time. I can't even think about how we're going to get back home. This was before cell phones were a thing. Instead, I'm concentrating on the forest surrounding us and the crackling fire, which, by the way, Greg keeps fucking with because he likes fire. Next thing I know, we hear a pack of coyotes. They seem to be circling around us all night in the woods, or at least running near us. I'm not sure because I was hallucinating.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, were there even coyotes? That did happen, though, because everyone heard the yipping, howling, screaming, and terrifying sounds of them fading in and out as they're running past us. I was too afraid to go into the tent for fear the coyotes would attack it, and that had more freedom to move around if I was outside. Now I know the coyotes are afraid of humans, generally not messing with them, but I was a dumb kid back then. As far as getting home, we had to walk all the way back to the campground carrying all the camping gear. The girl had to drive into town to find a payphone so I could call my mom to pick me up. She was not happy. I never hung out with Greg again. And this is signed Patrick.
Damn it. Patrick had a rough time. So Bob just takes off miles away from the regular campground, up some rough roads, it sounds like, and just leaves everybody. Everybody high as hell on mushrooms.
And he fights with his girlfriend, who's laughing and crying.
At the same time.
And then leaves them for the coyotes.
I would be, oh my God. That would suck under regular circumstances. You add in hallucinogenics.
That sounds horrible.
And everyone have tripping, and that sounds just absolutely terrifying.
This is truly a terrible story.
Yes.
Scary story.
Could you imagine calling your mom the next day?
Hell no. Oh my gosh.
You're hungover.
My mom would be like the last person I would call in this situation. She would have strung me up by my toes, bud.
Well, I'm glad you learned your lesson about hanging out with Greg and Bob and all them and Larry.
Maybe not getting sucked into a fire.
And I'm glad you did not get sucked into the fiery vortex.
Yes.
All right, Patrick. Thank you for that one. That was funny.
Okay.
That was funny and scary.
I think we have one more.
Let's get one more.
I think this is the last one. Okay. Last spring, my boyfriend and I wanted to check out a park we'd never been to before in a nearby town. It's about 20 acres of forested park with 6 walking trails that all intersect. There's a gravel parking lot which could hold less than 10 cars and a kiosk with a color-coded trail map. Along the trails are colored dots to lead you through. We were checking out this information board. There were maybe 2 or 3 other empty cars in the parking lot, and then a man sitting alone in an older minivan, which was pretty beat up. The man in the van rolled down his window and started shouting at us. He seemed to be quoting scripture.
Oh my gosh.
At us. I told my boyfriend I didn't feel safe going onto the trails in the woods at all while this man is filled with religious fervor, hollering at us. Instead, we got into the car and drove back to a more public park with our dog. We go around a greenway area and let our dog run in a fenced dog park. I'd say we're there for probably at least an hour and a half. When we get back to the parking lot, which is sizable, and by some tennis courts, we see the man in the van. He's slowly driving by watching a group of older ladies who are playing tennis. I tell my boyfriend to quick get into the car. We watch him circle the parking lot a few times, and he is seeming to hone in on the tennis ladies. Finally, I tell my boyfriend to go when he pulled around to the other side of the tennis courts. I don't want him to spot us while he's circling again. I don't know if the man followed us or if it was a coincidence. My boyfriend said he probably makes the rounds at area parks, which made me feel even more uneasy. And this is signed Michelle.
So he maybe makes rounds and just hollers religious scripture at people in parking lots.
Apparently he eyeballs ladies playing tennis.
And he's feeling the doubles going on
He's
over there.
He's feeling that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
He wants to be your ball machine.
So
he won't work for nobody but you.
All you're trying to do is go on a walk with your dog. And you can't even get out of the parking lot without this guy screaming out his window at you.
He's like, John 3:16.
God gave his son up and stuff. Isn't that how it goes? Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you know. You know the thing.
You know it.
Well, thank you, Michelle. That's goofy. But me and Heather are exactly like that. That's the type of thing that would freak us out. We actually left an establishment just the other night.
Oh, gosh, we should tell everybody that story.
Tell them right quick.
Oh, well, you tell them.
Well,
tell it, Dylan. Tell it. I promise it doesn't involve Diddy.
It doesn't involve
or fingers.
Anus pinching.
Nothing like that.
Nothing like that. So me and Heather were in Raleigh, Durham area, and we went to a really cool spot for some karaoke. Some friends had said we should go there
because we love the karaoke.
We love the Okies. And we went there, and it's certainly a cool little spot, cool place.
I felt old.
And we felt old.
I was old enough to be like everybody's mama in that place.
I could literally be everybody's daddy in there.
Yeah, you can.
And not even the sexy way.
You're going to be my daddy, too.
Like they're on my taxes as dependents.
No, I know. I felt like, okay.
So, anywho, but I'm okay with that. Heather's like, do you feel old? I'm like, no, we're having fun, and these kids are goofy, so I'm glad I'm not in their crowd. Anyway, we're watching, sitting and looking. Heather was having a couple of ciders there. I was being all responsible and shit.
I knew you were. I was proud of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Such a good boy.
But you take it from here, Heather. You succinctly.
Okay, so there was this dude, and I can only describe him as being like a lurch-looking motherfucker.
He could play lurch.
He had a big old rectangle head, like a big old blockhead. Looked like damn Herman Munster. Okay. Perched atop these big shoulders, and he was all big and tall and weird. Like I'm thinking like Ed Kemper. Like he was just really tall. How tall was he? Like maybe 6'6"?
Nah, this guy's 6'8", 6'9".
He was huge.
He was huge, a big old tall dude.
And
crazy looking.
But he was kind of wide. I mean, it wasn't like he was all tall and skinny. He was not gangly, but he was kind of, he was just a big dude. He reminded me of Ed Kemper, for real. Okay? Just big weird guy. And he's older, so I'm like, okay, well, there's someone else here who's not an NC State college student because everybody else is like super young.
So it's us and the creepy guy.
So we're like the only old people there. And of course I notice him and he's by himself. And all he does the whole night, I was like, Dylan, this guy, it gives me bad vibes. I'm like, he's up to no good. Watch him. And at first you were just kind of like, well, kind of maybe
he's just weird.
Like maybe you just, or, maybe you're just thinking that he's weird, because he's so tall or something.
But then I started watching the guy, and the guy was not, he had a very mean look on his face. He didn't seem to be smiling or having any kind of fun.
He looked like a shark swimming among guppies. That's all I could think, right?
Yes.
As he's making his way through the crowd, and he's just eyeballing like every young female in there.
Every little tiny blonde-headed female.
And he keeps walking by him and putting his hand, which, I always point this out because I do not like it. I'm like, you can get by me in a crowd without brushing my back, my low back, or touching my butt to get by me, or rubbing up on my bra strap or something. Like you can just get by me.
You don't have to put your hands on me.
You don't have to put your hands all over me. And this dude was doing that to like every single young girl in this place. He's like rubbing on them, walking past them, and just eyeballing them in the weirdest way. But it's like he keeps making his way around. Well, there's a group of young people sitting at a table directly behind us. And there were probably like maybe 3 or 4 females and like 2 or 3 guys. And I think there might have been some couples there. I don't know. But it was like he was so fixated on that table, and he kept walking by us. But every time he did, he would like make eye contact with us. Like he knew that we knew that we were like onto him.
Well, he started watching us watch him.
Yes.
And it seemed to make him uncomfortable.
Yes. So we just kept watching him. Because I'm like, you come over here, you big goofy motherfucker. Yeah. I ain't scared of you.
She'll climb up one side of you and down the other, you son bitch.
I'll kick you in your shin.
She'll chop you down.
Because your shin, I'll bite it. Because your shin's like right at my face. Because I'm short and you're tall.
So finally the guy kind of starts keying on us.
Yes.
Like Heather's like, oh my gosh. And of course, And
we were trying not to be super obvious, like staring at him. But he was just being so weird.
It wasn't that big of a place.
No.
And it wasn't that crowded.
No.
So if anyone's noticing you, it's not hard to notice that. And then he kind of starts changing the way he's acting.
Yeah. But then he kept walking by us and going back to this area where these people were hanging out, these young people. And there were the girls kind of dancing back there. And it was not where a dance floor was, right? But he's coming back there and he's sitting like on a bar stool almost directly behind these girls, just watching them dance and eyeballing them. And it was so weird. And I even asked you, should I say something? Should I like let these people know this dude's a creep and they need to like avoid him?
Right.
And you were like, well, you don't know how they're going to react. They could cause a scene. We don't know. But then he would just slowly make his way around, but kept looking back there at them and like working the crowd and like fondling everyone as he's passing. But he just keeps coming back to this one particular table. And I was like, this guy is a predator. Honestly, it's been a long ass time since I've been in the presence of someone that I was like, this person is no good. And this dude, he had nothing good going on. It was really weird.
He had a sinister vibe.
He did, right?
And hopefully we disrupted his ill intent that night.
Yeah, he looks like somebody who's going to wear your skin.
Yeah, he certainly looks like he was in
He's going to stretch your thigh over his big block head and make a hat out of you.
He was in the process of making a full-on skin suit, and he'd have to have a lot of skin because he was big.
Again, he was like Ed Kemper. He was huge.
Oh, my gosh.
And I kept thinking about that. This guy's so big. How if he really did try to like attack someone, especially like these small young women, they would stand no chance against this guy. His hands looked like mitts.
You take a female who's anywhere under 5'4" and weighs around 100 pounds, 110, 15. This guy could scoop her up under his arm and just walk away.
No,
and
for
like
real.
Her feet would be nowhere near the ground, and she would. I mean, she could do nothing about it. I mean, that's how scary big this guy was.
Well, eventually, after he was on to us, being on to him, and kept staring at us, I finally was like, we just need to clear out of here.
Yeah, because I was like, what if he really is a killer? Maybe he'll try to kill us.
What if he follows us to the car?
Oh, my gosh.
And that's when I was like, he better not, because I got my hatchet in the car. Anyway.
All right. So that was we've been out hunting killers, folks. And
but what if he really was?
There's nothing I can do about that.
It's just so creepy, though.
We brushed up against it. Death, that is.
Well, no, he was brushing up against everybody else.
Oh, my God.
He wasn't about to brush up against me.
At the end of the day.
You know why? Because I'm on to him.
It's what I know is this guy was the very least a super, just asshole of a creep. Well, just gross.
Just ogling.
Yes. He was a very gross guy.
Young women.
And he kept trying to talk. And then if he's trying to talk to a group and then they all of a sudden leave, people coming in and out, he would all kind of follow him to the door trying to get one last time of talking to these little tiny pretty little girls.
Yeah.
Young women.
Don't want to have anything to do with this guy. Because he looks like fucking Lurch.
Never have anything to do with this big creepy weird guy.
With this big weird rectangle head.
All right. So thank you for the listener stories. Those were some great ones, I've got to say.
I'm telling you, the sleep study, the carpet.
All of them.
I don't want to think about a cryptid. We got a freaky pizza guy.
Yeah. You got haunted ghosts, haunted houses.
Haunted hotels. Bloody handprints appearing and disappearing on walls.
I would be done. That would be done. If I thought I saw that and really convinced myself that I truly did see it, it's over.
You know what would happen if I saw that? I make a little ditty in my pants.
Stop. All right. I'm going to put her to bed on that one. And this will be the last time you ever hear. Well, I don't know. I don't know. We may have more to say about the diddler because it's so fun.
Oh, we're never going to stop talking about
him. To make fun of him because he's such a piece of shit. And he never thought they would get him. And it looks like they've got him. All right. Until next time. We will see you very soon with a regular episode.
Is that what we're going to call it?
I don't know.
Well, actually, we're going to have a midweek that's not quite midweek, but we'll have another episode out probably tomorrow.
This episode is called Stanky Finger.
No, it's not.
It's got to be.
It's not.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.